Alright gang, welcome back. Finally, car is actually to a point where I can start chopping it up. Wait a minute, chopping it up. Yeah, we're gonna be doing the Ford leaf spring mod for the to move the springs inboard 2 inches. Stay tuned. So yeah, I finally get a chance to actually modify stuff on this car now that actually the shell is pretty much done. I got a few spots where I need to touch up, re-weld, all that stuff. Yeah, it's part of building a car. But to get to that point, I still like to do the frame mods up in the air because I don't have a lift. 2, I have a rotisserie. Let's use it for a lift in itself. So alright, I think maybe I can do this step by step, see what I can do, read instructions, maybe go do some internet web searching, but I think I have a pretty good idea of what to do already from previous people posting on Facebook and stuff that I've been reading for years about how to do this. The instructions basically say a first step, there, is to measure 28 inches from the front of the rear leaf spring shackle mount up into there, 28 inches for the center line of the upper shock member, upper cross member shock mount. Yeah, that makes total sense. So I did that already. Let me go get the shock cross member, and then let's clamp that guy into place and see if it fits. Actually, I know it fits. I already checked it. So yeah, let me go get that real quick. Maybe I should ask Santa for Christmas to get me a Viper chair. That would have been nice. All right, got some clamps, got my marker, and let's check and see if we can get this guy up in there without cracking my head. This is the upper shock mount. It looks like it's like 1.5 inch tubing, and it's a 120 wall. So that's that. It's supposed to go up in there kind of like this. About like that. So let me mark on the brackets, mark everything out to where center is. That way I can find a way to clamp this guy, this bracket into place, and then yeah. Alright guys, so finally got it back in place. Slide my plug here. Tells you the center line of the bar's got to be 28 inches from the forward edge back to here, in which it is. So what I did was tape measure, drug it out, and took my speed square for woodworking, got it up there. Same thing on the other side, and we got a willow. We got a pretty girl here, and then I found the center line, the center point of the upper shock cross member, measured that, and then so yeah, once I got this into place, make sure I got plenty of clearance around everything, get bolts in, all that stuff. It's a little tight on the passenger side and not so much on the driver's side because they have a little extra room up in here. Next thing to do is take the MIG welder. I'm going to tack it in 3 spots on either side, drop the whole thing out, take over the bench, try my hand at TIG welding. Alright, yeah, I'll throw some sparks down on the camera real quick. Enjoy the quick little time lapse of me tacking this and then taking it off and going over to my little Harbor Freight workbench. Alright, a TIG welder is something I am not. I am not really good at it. I get nervous when I do it. Need to stay calm, but it works. So, like I said, not a TIG welder. But it's filled, melted together. Looks pretty decent for the most part, for not having to pick the TIG torch up in 7 months, 8 months, something like that. Since the rest of the car was totally MIG together, except for a few of the areas where I tigged it. Alright, next up is going to be up underneath here. You can see where I drew the outline of where the plate's going to go up against the frame rail. I need to clean that, cut roll through primer. Give this a quick go with the sandpaper on the DA and clean it up and get it ready for some paint before I put it in there. Because I don't want to try to spray on the top side here to try to get paint up on it. So yeah, that'll be coming up next. I'll do it off the camera real quick and just show you guys the aftermath of that. Alright guys, so here it is, painted up in place. That's what it looks like getting where it needs to go in tone. The instructions tell you to go out and weld this, or the video online tells you to go out and weld it in fully, but when you read the instructions it tells you just to tack the bar, the crossbar into place, just in case you need to rotate it clear of shocks. Luckily I lucked out, just because I can envision stuff in my head, and we're all good to go. What I mean by rotate this down is to give you more clearance between the lug here to the shock body. If I need a little bit more clearance, I can always trim this back a little bit, a smidge, and it won't bother at all. So I'm just going to leave this loose attached for now, and when we come back to it, one of the last things I do it's one of the last things to do is to weld these plates in, and then up in here I'll probably make a couple of gussets to come from that radius in over, and the same thing on the other side. So the next thing to be coming up will be get my butt out from the car, is to, well, here's the templates we need to cut out, so that way you can put them on the frame rail, mark out the frame rail, and know where we need to cut, or where I need to cut. So yeah, these are the templates you need to cut out. This is for on the outside of the frame rail, shows you how far you need to cut in across the top, or the higher, the more higher and Z axis of the frame rail, and this goes on the inside, tells you the other area where you need to cut. It's pretty, once you get the paper on there, it's pretty self-explanatory. This one I gotta mess with a little bit, or fuss around with a little bit, because it's supposed to be a tab on the floor where the interior panel goes up against the just for the sail panel and all. Well, that tab's not there because, well, I cut it all, cut the whole floor pan out, so it's not there anymore. I have a pretty good idea, because this kind of follows the contour of the floor where the rear seat goes, and these guys here are where the actual spring pocket goes on the car itself. So a couple alignment holes on here, you put a bolt through it, and then you can tape it in place, pull some magnets and all that. So I'm going to cut these out real quick, get them taped on the car to make sure everything's good to go, show you where to go. When I come back, these will be on the car somewhere. So after cutting out the templates, locating them, putting where they should be, your mileage may vary on how they fit on your car. So remember, I replaced all this stuff. It's all aftermarket parts back here that you see, except for a little bit of stuff right in here where the rear seat pan is. So yeah, it's all aftermarket. It fits best as I can get it. Let's just put that out there for now. Alright, with that said, templates actually fit fairly decently for what they are. Basically, you outline it here, outline it down in here, crossed, up, cut it over, and draw some squiggly lines to make sure I know where to cut. Same thing with down in here, comes across, up along here, because that's where this plate goes. Let's grab the right one. Is this it? Yeah, that's it. There's a spring pocket out of the way. Because this reinforcement plate, where you cut everything out, get back in place there, goes in there like this. That makes sense. So that way, you know, when you cut the frame out, it gives you room for leaf springs to move inboard. Now, what's that, an inch or so? So with that, that's that one part there. The next major thing we need to cut is room for this guy, where the frame pocket goes. So this guy goes up in here like this, kind of like that. So it gives you a template. So we got a cut up along here. It says on the paperwork to cut along bold lines, so I'm gonna cut a little short. I'll line it up with this one here and that piece of paper, because that seems to be the most accurate, because they seem those two tangents line up. So I'll draw a line connected this to here. This gets cut. Now, well, I'll probably, yeah. So it gets cut straight all the way across, all the way up here, over, all the way down, and across here. And then same thing with this. It shows that's getting cut along here. A little bit of a notch. We'll see if I can actually get that in there. Down through here and around this way. Once that's all cut out, then when up inside, we'll see how this fits, and if we need to whittle a little bit more way through. But before we do that, I gotta drill start a hole right there for the new Ford hole for the leaf spring, or actually for the pocket goes, and all that fun stuff. So I guess I'll mark this out, put you guys up on the time lapse and all that fun stuff. Oh yeah, and on the back side here, or the inside, we got to notch it, the frame rail here. So all this is getting cut out. I love it. So which is fine. I mean, no big deal. I can always add more weld up around here to help tie it into the floor pad to give it some more strength. So I wish I would have known about this beforehand, or else I would have been a little bit more like, whatever. I just would have put a couple tacks in there just to hold everything into place. So let me draw all these lines out, trail a hole for there, or at least give it a good drill start there, because I think it gets up in a 1/2 inch. Actually, yeah, it does get up in a 1/2 inch, and all that fun stuff. Yeah, we'll set you up on a time lapse, show me all this stuff, show you how you do all this stuff. It's probably gonna be a long time lapse because I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna put some good music on. Couple hours later, I'm grinding, cutting, trimming, fitting, filing, grinding, trimming, fitting, taking apart, marking. This is what I came up with. Yeah, the fit's perfect. Gap's good. Up around here, I can push on it with a my hammer to close it up while welding it. And on the back side there, it gives a little bit of overhangs, not just designed into the actual piece there. This gap will go away here a little bit when I push up on it, which is, I made it so it actually fits in there perfect. But also I did it, ground it out a little bit more, because they tell you to put the spring clips in, or the leaf spring clips and bolts in to locate it and then trim it to fit. I think it's a waste to actually keep them in there, so I'm going to take them out and then I can push it back up in there. That's where we drill the pilot holes for the off the template. But that's for where you put actually the spring bucket in there. That's where that little 1/4 inch locating tab goes. But yeah, finish looks pretty dang good, or at least a fit. Nothing big welder can't help. Nothing a big welder can't handle. But yeah, you basically cut that frame out in half. Good thing this car is getting a roll bar too. And one of the other big oopses I had was right here. Oops. It happens. But the workaround is I'm going to take some 1/8 inch plate, make a little gusset right here, and then weld it up in here, and then weld it to the actual torque box. So yeah, that's this side. Let's walk around the car and see what the inside looks like. Grab a flashlight here. So there's a couple different schools of thought on how to make room for that frame rail mod. Some people just beat the crap out of floorboard, but that's what I did. I cut it. and beat it back. beat it. I beat the floor a little bit towards where the seam is in the back there. But what's nice about it is I can take the floor, hammer it up against that frame mod there, and that will weld that all the way around. And then that's where the paper template for the inside goes. That's what they told you to cut, but I ended up having cutting about a quarter inch more, and there's a little bit of a gap on the back side there. I'll probably do the same thing. Get a piece of steel and make a little gusset back and weld it up to there. So yeah, that's what that looks like. I think next up is I'm going to take a quick little break and then get back at it. See what I got to weld, and copper weld through primer, and I still got to trim the frame piece where I cut that, because they tell you to mark it and trim it to fit. So yeah, that'll be coming up next. I'll be trimming that piece right there to fit the frame rail. And that's what I was talking about, by just trimming it ever so much. Got a damn near perfect gap all the way around it. So the only thing left to do really is to start welding it in. Yeah, I'm probably gonna start with this piece first, just because I love the gap the way it is, and I still, like I said, I still need to copper weld through stuff and paint the back in here. I'll probably do it off the camera, let that dry, go play with the dog, and all that fun stuff. So yeah, copper weld through on this on the back side, that way it's protected, and when I go get done the car, like when I go to paint it, there's a couple things I could do to help protect the inside of this from rust and corrosion and all that fun stuff. Is Eastwood's internal frame coating has a tube, squirt it down in there. The other thing is 3M sells a stuff called cavity wax, same deal. It comes in a tube, buy 5 or 6 cans, squirt it all down in there. So, but for now, what I'm going to do is legitimately just copper weld through. Same thing on the back here. I need to clean some areas around in here and here to get it ready to weld. So I have something to weld to instead of EDP coating and all that. So yep, next thing's up is cleaning off areas around here for copper weld through and molding it in. So there we go. Everything's copper weld through prime, back into place. Yeah, making progress. Couple of things I got to do. As I'm tacking this into place, I'll tack it, move metal around. The same kind of deal with up here. I'm gonna tack it, get some clamps, clamp it up really tight in there. Make sure that's nice and tight. And up in here, I think you're supposed to leave the bolt in there, but I'm not going to because I don't want to. I can weld it. So yeah, let me get the welder set up, get my mask on, welding gloves, and just start tacking and stuff. And I'll put you guys on a time lapse to watch that stuff, because real time, it's like super slow, tack, move, tack, move, tack, move, and it's pretty boring. So all right, time lapse coming up with me tacking this in and welding at least what I can get on the outside. I am not a very good welder, but when in doubt, burn it hot. So there you go. Weld it in. I still gotta fill that gap up in there, but I'll do that up top. And when I get I'll put some copper behind it. But yeah, pretty much all the way welded in. I think they want you to weld all the way up in here, but I don't need to because it's welded all the way around. The tacks will be good enough. Belt sander in there, clean that up. And gotta drill the hole here. So yeah, just need to make like I said, the little doubler here to fill that gap. And cool, getting there. I think I'm going to make that double real quick, or to fill that gap up. weld that in, and then flip it up or flip it the car back level again, and then see what I have to do on the inside to get that all the floor to fit flush again. And that was a little gusset, or actually, yeah, a little double I made to repair that little extra area I cut out too short. So yeah, time to flip it up and get on the inside, and yeah, weld all the skin back to the new spring pocket. All right, flip the car up and hammer some of this stuff down, hammer it back over top where the frame mods are at, and I'm just gonna bunch of tacks around in here to get the floor pan, weld it back to the frame rail, and I'm gonna inside here, I'll fill that in, a little bit of welding, grind it smooth, and the same thing here. I'll just tack it back and forth, fill that gap. This is where I cut too far through, up in here. Good thing I have a metal glue gun to weld all the stuff back together. So yeah, I'm gonna grab my clampy thing for the GoPro, put you guys on a time lapse so you can watch the Sparky show. Okay, 1,000 tacks later. Yeah, looks like horrible, but it fills the void. So okay, that's gonna be it for this side, for welding wise. The rest of it's just gonna be grinding all the stuff smooth. So yeah, I'm not even gonna bother to record that stuff because, well, you guys see me grind stuff and stuff smooth and all that crap. So yeah, when I get done grinding, I'll show you that. All right, after some grinding and stuff, there's a few low spots in there, which I'm not worried about at all because, well, don't care. It's going to be covered with epoxy primer and then with a bed liner on it. So a little bit of areas filled, will fill in and fill up one cohesive thing. So I get my big bucket, my good old bucket there. And yeah, that's what the frame mod looks like. And the rusted spring bucket. I didn't know this thing was horrible. I never actually took it apart. I just took the spring off as one piece, and as you can see, looks like I'm ordering a set of these. So yeah. A lot of work. I started today here at like 11, stopped for 25 minutes for lunch, and it's now 7 o'clock. You can't complain, good solid 8 hours to cut your frame rails. Oh, cut your frame rail. And the best part about doing all this work and moving the frame rail in and the spring pocket in, get bigger tires, I get to do it again. But I'll just do that off the camera and show you the aftermath once I get done with that. Because there's no sense of me to do it, record everything twice. So yeah, that's what it looks like. Oh, and for those who are wondering, this little hole here, that was for where the emergency brake cable used to go through. I think if I do anything, I might just leave it open for one big reason, like this one here too. Water. If any water or anything gets up inside of here, it has a place to go. And the same with that right there, it's going somewhere. It's not draining in, it's not sitting in there, it's not rusting away or whatever. I still got to do the internal frame coating and cavity wax and all that stuff to give it some corrosion protection. So yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell how to cut your frame rail. Bit of work, obviously, but hopefully it'll be well worth it. So yep, next thing coming up will be, I'll show you the aftermath once I get done that side. There we go. That's what the passenger side looks like after the welding, grinding and stuff. I did shoot a video when this thing was up in rotisserie, but I screwed up and had it on the wrong setting. Anyways, this is going to be the end of the video because, well, it's getting long and I'm having problems. Not with this. That was easy. Not with that. It's the, as you said, I left a mess in the garage. I was pissed. These bushings here, they're too big for the holes in the frame. That's probably my problem because who knows what size tubing China or Taiwan used for the frame itself, the inch and a half tubing. So, well, I'm gonna come up with a fix. Well, I fixed, but I come up with a way for me to get those in. Anyways, for all new people, I encourage you to go back to watching the old videos. There's a lot of cool info, a lot of cool stuff in there. But thanks for liking, subscribing, sharing, and watching. You know, it's fun making these videos for me too, as much as it is working on the car. All right, guys. Till next time. Thanks.